We have our first ever AEW interview happening live in studio with you right now. Buckle up, AfterBuzzers. It's going to be a good one.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to you live from the world-famous AfterBuzz TV studios in Los Angeles, California. And if we got a show for you, we have the current AEW Tag Team Champion of the World, introducing Scorpio Sky. Scorpio, how are you doing?
And the crowd goes mild.
Thank you so much for being here today.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Yeah, are you still out you're in Garland, Texas right now, or did you already fly out of there?
I just got back. I walked through my front door like maybe 20 minutes ago.
Very cool. Yeah, so you were there. I don't know yet if you did AEW Dark. The traveling, is it pretty good? It must be regular for you. You're used to traveling all over the place.
Yeah, it's gotten to be a routine now. It's not that big of a deal. We actually are pretty fortunate. We have a good schedule in the sense of we're only on the road maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and we have weekends off, which makes it all the better. You know, I haven't had weekends off in years, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's got to be living the dream. You before getting to AEW, you wrestled all over in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. You did stuff in Europe and Japan, and we also talked about the off-air, the Pacific Northwest with Defy Wrestling. Also, I first came across you in Wrestling Society X.
Wow.
So been doing all sorts of stuff all over the place. Are you still doing other dates with different companies, or are you all in with AEW right now?
No, yeah, I'm all in with AEW now.
Yeah.
Flexible. I think I could do some other dates if I wanted to, but I really want to take the time to focus on AEW and building that brand and giving everything I have to that for the time being. Not to say that I wouldn't do something in the future, but that's just not the plan right now.
Yeah, it seems like they do give you a little bit of that flexibility if you wanted to do some other things, but it seems like right now in pro wrestling, the place to be is AEW because they're the ones doing all the cool stuff right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, being in the position I'm in, which is a very fortunate position, I want to make sure I stay healthy. And so on my days off, I try to make sure I get in the gym and recover and have a little fun at the same time and be ready for next week's Dynamite or Dark or whatever I am doing.
Yeah, are you like a routine guy? Are you like, how do you manage your health and fitness? Are you one of those people that no matter where you are and what you're doing, you're all about getting to the gym at the same time? Or do you just kind of feel it out day by day? What's that kind of look like for you?
When I'm home, I usually like to get to the gym around the middle of the day. So I'm like an 11:30 to 12 kind of guy because I'm not really a super early, like get up and go as soon as it's dawn or as soon as the sun comes up kind of guy. But at the same time, I don't like going really late in the day. So the middle of the day just kind of fits for me. But when I'm on the road, you kind of have to just get in where you fit in. And so sometimes it's early in the morning, sometimes it's evening. You just have to go when you can.
Yeah, and with things, especially with wrestling, you obviously have to deal with a lot of crazy injuries and things like that. How do you balance that when you're not feeling 100% versus the show must go on? Do you sort of have a way of a template for how you look at different pains and things like that? Or do you just say, if I can go, I can go, and if I can't, I can't?
Well, fortunately now, being with a big company, we've got a whole staff backstage, a whole medical staff. We've got doctors, we've got physical therapists. So if we have something bothering us, we can get it checked out, we can get it assessed, find out what it is, and get it worked on. And they can go from there and say, okay, you're good to go, you're not good to go. But as a pro wrestler in general, we're all used to working hurt, working through injuries. As long as it's not too bad, you just kind of suck it up and go and, as they say, put your helmet on and go into the game. So.
Right. Now, something I saw online the other day is you had mentioned, I believe it was on Wrestling Inc., you had mentioned that you've been working with Dean Malenko quite a bit as one of the coaches there. as a fan, I'm always curious, what does that mean if someone's a coach? Like, how do you guys just go to the gym together and, he says, don't skip leg day, or are you in the ring actually doing stuff? How does that work when you have a coach at a place like AEW? And what exactly is Dean Malenko doing to help you out?
Well, in WWE, they call them agents. And with the AEW, we call them coaches. And basically, it's the same job, but what they do is help you with your segment, whether it be, hey, this is what you're doing. You're doing an interview tonight, or your match is going to be this segment of the show, and whatever. And so you just kind of lean on them for the specifics of what you need to get across and what needs to get done. And they can actually help you as far as like your match as well, which is, when you have someone like a Dean Malenko or the other guys we have like Jerry Lynn and the names go on and on, it's valuable.
Yeah, so they're kind of not just helping you kind of hit your paces, but also maybe giving you feedback on how to make the match work best or tell the best story and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. They'll get back with you after the match or after whatever you do, and they can kind of tell you this was good, this was not good, or, whatever. You can go from there. And it just helps, to get better. Everybody's done it. Cena, Austin, Rock, they've all had agents, Bret Hart, so it's one of the parts of the business that helps you just get better.
Yeah, I was checking out Wikipedia, which is always a 100% accurate source.
Always.
And it said that you were a fan of Bret Hart. Bret Hart was your guy growing up. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was a huge Bret Hart guy, and I still am. He was at Double or Nothing back in Vegas in May, and he actually made it an appearance, and I ended up taking a picture with him backstage, just kind of a mark out moment, because, at the end of the day, we're all still fans. And, I grew up a huge Bret Hart fan from the time I was, like 8 or 9 years old. So he had a big inspiration on me.
Yeah, Bret Hart was the first person that I ever said was my favorite wrestler at the time. So we share that connection there. I've always been a fan of the Hitman. I'm also a fan of the team you're with, of SoCal Uncensored. And I'm curious about how everything came together. I know Daniels and Kazarian, they were a tag team, and then you all three came together to make SCU. But how did that happen? Did they approach you? Did you approach them? How did you guys decide to get together?
Well, it's funny. We actually created the group 2 years ago, either this week or next week. It was at ROH Final Battle 2017 when we formed the group. But the seeds were planted a few months earlier, and basically this is what happened. Frankie and Chris were with Ring of Honor for a couple of years. Frankie I had been really close with from PWG. I knew Chris as well, and also from PWG. And Frankie had been trying to get me into Ring of Honor for a couple of years at that point. And I ended up getting a tryout match with them in Vegas as well. Excuse me. And I wrestled 2 matches against Cody, and I wrestled against Kushida, and I was fortunate enough to get called back to Philadelphia the next month and did an 8-man match against the Elite, which was a barn burner.
Right.
I'd say so myself. It was a really good match, and we all impressed, and we all did really well, and that kind of helped earn my spot. And the whole idea was ROH liked me. They just didn't know what to do with me. They didn't have a spot for me. And what happened was Frankie and Chris had been looking for a third guy because ROH had 6-man tag team titles that they wanted to go after. They had already won tag team championships. Daniels had already been world champion. So it was like, okay, this is the next goal. This is what we want to do. We want to go after the 6-man titles, but they didn't have a partner. And it was that night they were impressed with me, and they kind of looked at each other and said, like, wow, he's our third guy. Let's pitch that. And obviously I was on board, and the office was on board, thank goodness. And SCU was formed.
When they came to you, when they pitched it at first, was it like, hey, we have this idea, do you want to join us? Or was it like, this is happening, we've already got it all approved?
I don't know if it was really either one. Like, they didn't have to pitch me on it, because I was already good, friends with them. I was already traveling with them when I was going to ROH. And they had always been helpful to me dating back to PWG. And then the time that I spent with TNA Impact. They were also guys that were really helpful to me. So they were, they're already someone I looked up to and guys that I admired for years. So they didn't have to pitch me at all. It was just kind of like, hey, we'd like to do this. And obviously I'm just like, okay, yeah, of course I'm on board with that. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I think that translates really well on camera as well. There are certain things about you guys that feel like you're a real group of friends and you're not just put together for the sake of TV. So as a fan, it's always good to see you guys come out and you look like you're having fun. So that's always really a good thing to see. On AEW, now obviously AEW is still fairly new. As a fan, we see All In happen, and then you hear the rumblings again as a fan of Double or Nothing, and maybe they're going to get a TV deal, and then it happens. But as a wrestler, did you see all this stuff kind of happening way early on? Did you know early on you were going to be a part of AEW, or was it like, oh, I wonder if they're going to pick me? How was that process like as this new company was starting and you were potentially going to join to being there where you are now?
Well, I heard the rumblings at the same time as all the fans did. You see the things online of, Tony Khan being interested in getting into pro wrestling and this and that and the other. But, you never know if anything is legit, and until there's actually paperwork put in front of you, or until I actually got to meet Tony Khan and felt, okay, this guy is legit. He's really passionate. He's got a vision. He wants to do something different. He wants to make history, and that's what sold me on him. And also the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks being involved was a huge part of what brought me, Frankie, and Chris along board with them, because we trust them and we're obviously all good friends. I've been friends with the Young Bucks my entire career. We basically started together. I trust them, and they've done things that nobody else has ever been able to do. And so everything just kind of came together so quickly, and we're heading up on 1 year. We've only been open for about a year. We announced the company, I think, January 8th, 2019. And so if you look at everything that we've been able to accomplish over the past year, it's nothing short of extraordinary, because this has never happened before. There's never been a company that opened from scratch at this level, because even if you look at WCW back in the day, they came from the NWA. This is something completely different, completely new. It's history. There's going to be books and documentaries about this for years to come.
Yeah, it almost feels like almost like a video game where you do a new franchise mode and it's suddenly there on the same level. It's crazy that this is happening and that it's doing so well right now. And of course, there's a lot of people that want to compare it to other competition like NXT, and they on Twitter, as you know, Twitter is its own world. They like to talk about ratings and things like that. I kind of feel like the ratings war side of things gets overblown a little bit, but how do you feel as a wrestler? Do you feel competitive, like, yeah, we want to win, or is it like, hey, everyone's winning because more people are getting on TV? How do you feel about this whole Wednesday night war, as they call it?
It's both, honestly. Your competitive nature, you always want to be the best. You always want to beat whoever is opposite you. And I'm a naturally really competitive person anyway, so I'm always going to be that way. That being said, the Wednesday Night Wars is kind of a romanticized thing, because it's not exactly like the Monday Night Wars. There's nobody trying to put the other company out of business. Nobody's going to go out of business. Ratings aren't live and die the way they used to be. So it's fun to look at things, and obviously I'll be looking at the ratings when they come out for yesterday as well, and I definitely pay attention to it every week. But it's not, we're not trying to kill anybody. I've got friends. I'm friends with so many people in WWE and NXT, and I want them to do well. And we hope that they want us to do well, because it's just better for the business, it's better for the workers, and it's better for the fans.
Yeah, I always say, I like the phrase you use, it's kind of romanticized, because I always say if they were on different channels, we would say the ratings are amazing either way, and we wouldn't really care whether one won by a couple numbers or not. But I love it. I think I'm a big fan of wrestling, so I agree with you. I think it's kind of win-win for all of us in this regard. Now, something that I've noticed about you lately is that you've been doing a lot of singles matches. Now, you're a tag team champion, but I see you doing a lot of singles matches, and you had a big one recently for the heavyweight championship of the world. Are we teasing a possible Scorpio Sky going solo, or is this just having fun? You just like to work a little bit more than the other two? What's going on with that?
No, definitely. I don't like to work more than the other two. Don't get it. Those guys are work horses. Both Frankie and Chris would wrestle matches 1 through 8 on a card if you asked them to. Those guys are insane. They probably want to work more than I do, to be honest with you. And they're older than I am, which is nuts. But they're psychos. But I love both. I love singles wrestling. I love tag team wrestling. It just so happens I got over as a tag team guy with SCU as 6-mans and regular tags, and I'm fortunate enough to be one half of the first World Tag Team Champions. And so I'm really, really happy with that, again, making history. But at the same time, when you get in there with someone like Chris Jericho, you pin him in a tag match, and that leads to a singles world title match. Words can't describe what that type of feeling is. Someone that grew up watching Chris Jericho, it's amazing. If someone told me just a few months ago, like, you're going to be standing across the ring from Chris Jericho live on national TV, and I would be like, what? You're crazy. That's not going to happen. But it happened, and so I'm open to do whatever it is. I think my focus right now is on the World Tag Team titles, and eventually in the future, whether it be a couple of months or a couple of years, whatever, however the cards land, I am definitely looking to eventually go singles, and I would like to be a world champion and take that belt that Chris Jericho currently carries.
Well, no pressure, but I did say on our very program, I think that someday you are going to be the guy to make it happen. And no pressure. I've never been wrong on a prediction in my life. So no pressure, but it's all on you at this point to keep that streak alive.
I think I did see that clip. I think you said I'm going to be the next champion.
You're going to be the next champion. So no pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
We just got to make sure that you follow through on that. But I think I got to say, too, you're right. It is very historic. You get to be the first AEW Tag Team Champions. And right now, not for nothing, I think that the AEW Tag Team Champions are my favorite title belt right now. I think those look the nicest of all of them out there. See, look at that. That thing looks great.
Got my name on it.
Oh, and it's even on there. I love it. That's my favorite looking belt right now. I think that's a pretty looking title.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the snake skin in the back. I don't know if you can really see that.
Oh yeah, they don't show that enough on TV.
Yeah, it's got beautiful snake skin in the back. I think it's real snake skin as well, and it's they really put a lot of effort into this. I actually got to meet the designer of this championship. He came to the pay-per-view in Baltimore last month, and he kind of gave us the breakdown of how he came up with it, and we took pictures with him and everything. And I think it's a beautiful belt. And it matches what we're doing. We're making tag team wrestling really important. I think the AEW tag team division is one of the most stacked divisions in wrestling. We've got 6, 7, 8 teams that can all carry these titles and be top teams. I mean, we're talking the Young Bucks, the best tag team in the last 10 years. You're talking SCU, Best Friends, the Dark Order. Let's not talk about Lucha Brothers. I mean, that's just naming a few of them. Private Party. There's so many talented teams. It just so happens that we're on top of them.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, you guys have a match coming up with the Young Bucks next week. How do you feel about them having the nerve to call themselves the best tag team when you're the guy holding the championships?
I call them the best tag team, until somebody knocks them off that throne, whether they're carrying these or not, they are the best tag team of the last 10 years. And that might be underselling them. They're by far the best. So that's a motivating factor for us. Frankie and I, we've been underdogs before. We like to go in as the underdogs. We're Rocky, big Rocky fans. And so we like to be that underdog story. And if you want to carry these titles, you have to face the best. And the Young Bucks are the best. And we're going to go in there. We're going to kick their butts.
I think so. I got you guys picked to win this one, one next week.
There you go.
Going into the tournament, I agree. I'll be honest. I thought you guys were underdogs in that tournament. But at the very beginning of the tag team tournament, you did a really good Barack Obama impression. How did that whole little skit come about? Was that you guys just kicking around fun ideas and deciding to do it since you were in DC, or was was that something planned? That was one of my favorite little skits you guys have done.
Thank you. Yeah, we just threw it together because I don't know if you're a fan of Being the Elite, but we always go town to town and we kind of bury whatever town we're in. And so we knew we were coming up to DC and we had never buried DC. So we're like, oh, let's go ahead and let's go do that for sure. And then it was kind of like, well, what if we went to the nation's capital, or what if we go to the White House? And it's like, well, what if we dress up in suits? And I'm like, oh, what if I talked like Obama, and we put on a suit and then they're like, oh, what if we dress like Secret Service? And that's how all these things come together. It's literally just like throwing stuff against the wall and things just kind of snowball from there. And then, we come up with the idea, and it was really only supposed to be for BTE, and then we shot it, and we thought it was so good that we're like, oh, we would love to use this on TV. But the funny thing about it was, when I was rehearsing in the days leading up to it, I was like, I thought, I was kind of, patting myself on the back. I was all, this is a really good Obama impression. And then when I watched it back, I was like, oh, that's not a good impression at all. That's pretty bad, actually. But I was like, whatever. But then I saw a bunch of people that were saying, oh, it was great. It was spot on. And so I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad. I guess you're your own worst critic all the time.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was really fun. And it gave you guys a lot of personality, especially to the viewing audience that may have been new to you guys at that point. And did you know at that point because I believe at that point it was still going to be Daniels in there. Did you know already kind of that's how it was going to play out? Or was that something that you taking his spot in the tournament, was that something that you kind of knew was going to happen, or did that happen? Are you asking, did I know the Lucha Brothers were going to jump them from behind and pile drive Christopher Daniels on the ramp? Yeah. Did you know you were gonna come in?
We're layering things here. I don't know how to answer that.
No. Well, I thought you did a good job either way. It was one of my favorite all-time moments. You wrestling with one shoe on. It was a good time.
Oh yeah, that was quite a night and unforgettable. And I got both shoes back, which is pretty cool. So
yeah. Well, I do have a few questions from our viewing audience. I was hoping I could run by you.
Absolutely.
So I want to give a shout out first on Twitter to @RTIIAnimate. I think it's supposed to stand for retweet to animate, but it's spelled RTIIAnimate. He asked, the segment with Chris Jericho, the Melody Parsons thing, was that an Easter egg reference towards Melody from the new Pokemon Sword and Shield game?
No. Because her name is actually Melanie Parsons.
Melanie Parsons.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. I copy and pasted. That wasn't my research. RT, you threw me under the bus. No,
a lot of people have made that mistake, actually. There's been a lot of tweets of a lot of them saying Melanie, a lot of them saying Melody. They're both really nice names, but yeah. Melanie was the name. Yeah.
Is Melanie a real person?
No. I just made it up.
Because if she was, that's cold of Jericho to say she got fat. But it would be on brand, I guess.
Yeah.
So then we also have on Twitter, @HeywoodTM asks, do you feel women's wrestling is ready to take over the top spot?
I mean, I think in a lot of ways it already has. If you look at Ronda Rousey and what she did last year and WrestleMania main eventing with 3 women, and that's just one company, and they have some of the greatest performers in the business. If you look at someone like Charlotte, I'm a huge Charlotte fan, and I think guy or girl, she's one of the best that works for that company. And then if you have someone like Tessa Blanchard, who I have praised over the years, we've wrestled a couple of times, and I think also male or female, she's one of the best in the entire business. So I think maybe it's not taking over the top spot, because I think, we're still competitive as guys.
Right.
But I think they are stepped up and sharing that spot at the top with the men.
It is very cool to see as a wrestling fan, having watched wrestling for a long time, watching that it really is an evolution and a revolution of the women's division, how much better it's gotten. And I agree, I would love to see Tessa Blanchard join AEW. I've said that a few times on our show. So I'm making the pitch. I don't know how much that helps Tessa want to join AEW, but I want it to happen, Tessa. Make it happen. But you brought up having matches with her. How do you feel about the intergender matches? Would you like to see those in AEW? I'm a fan of them. I would like to see it happen more. Do you have a preference one way or the other on those?
I don't have a preference one way or the other, honestly. Obviously there are people on both sides of the fight, and they both have good points in the sense of, you don't necessarily want to see men and women fighting each other, but then there's the other argument of, well, if it's a comic book and, there's, whatever. I've only done a couple of intergender matches in my entire career, and they're both with Tessa, actually. And I think there's a way of doing it. There's certain things that I didn't want my character doing. I get it. It's wrestling, yada, yada, yada. But one of the things I didn't do was hit her. I didn't want to punch her or hit her. And, it's just it's one thing to wrestle because, I had a friend that I went to high school with, and she was a wrestler, and she wrestled guys because a lot of the other teams didn't have women. So she'd wrestle guys. So, ideally you could have a man and a female wrestler, and she won sometimes. So it could happen. But other than that, I don't like the idea of maybe punching a woman in the face. So that's one thing I just made sure I did not do. I tried to keep it a wrestling match, and I thought that made it unique and made it different. And if you have someone as good as Tessa that is as good as the guys, I told her this after the match. I said, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but wrestling you was like wrestling a guy. And what I mean by that is that you were so athletic, so strong, and so intense that it just felt like I didn't feel like I have to really be, handle you with kid gloves. You were out there toe to toe with me. And, when you have someone like that, you can do it. But whether we're going to do it in AEW or not, we'll see. I think there's a place for both of them. I think it's really cool to have the women's division, and they do their thing the similar way the UFC has a lightweight division and a heavyweight division and a middleweight division. And a lot of times they don't cross. You're never going to see a heavyweight fight a lightweight. I think that's okay if that's the same way with a women's division and a man's division.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I agree with what you're saying as well. I think you definitely have to be sensitive about how things like that work. But overall, I'm excited, and hopefully I would like to see more intergender matches, but I also agree if they keep them separate, it's going to be fine either way. I feel like it's entertainment no matter what happens, right? So we had mentioned earlier, you are defending the title against the Young Bucks. Right now, all the champions are first-time champions. I want a prediction from you. Who's going to be the first champion to lose their belt?
Ooh.
I'm putting you on the hot seat.
I'm going to, and this is not a knock against Riho, but I'm going to say Riho. And that's just because we have signed and brought in so many new women they're so good that division is heating up. We just brought in Kristen Statlander, who's amazing. And I don't know if you've been watching the show or if you've seen any of her on the indies, but she can do things that would blow your mind. I've seen her do 450s. I've seen her do shooting star presses. She's incredible. And so the best is yet to come with her. And we just brought in Big Swole, who I hadn't seen a ton of before she came to us, but she's impressing me every time I see her. There's more Joshi girls coming over. So Riho, as tough as she is, I think it's going to get a little bit tough for her to hold on to that because there's so many more competitors coming into that division, and it's more frequently than it is in the heavyweight and tag division. So if I had to make a prediction, I'm sorry, Riho. It ain't gonna be us, I'll tell you that. Right.
I agree with you. The AEW women's division has just seemed to have blown up over the past month or so. It seems like every week we get a new addition, and every time I see a new addition, I think, oh my gosh, this is the future of the women's division. It's become very stacked, and I really enjoyed Big Swole this past week, or yesterday, as of recording this. So I agree. I think that's going to be a very, very very competitive division going into the new year. And going into the new year, you guys have a show coming up, Bash at the Beach, a former WCW show. I am an unapologetic late period WCW fan, so I am super excited about Bash at the Beach. How do you feel about having some of these WCW named shows on the calendar?
Well, it's not going to do a lot for us in terms of trying to knock down the comparisons between us and WCW. But at the same time, I don't think that's bad. Everything is nostalgic, old is new, and that's kind of been that way for a long time now. And I think it's a lot of fun, for someone that grew up like myself watching WCW, watching Bash at the Beach. To bring that name back, and we're going to Miami, and it's going to be a lot of fun, similar to the way WWE has brought back Starrcade and has, we're doing the Great American Bash for a while and a lot of different things like that. So it's just kind of something that is a little nod to the past, which is something that's always nice to do. And I hope we can actually get some old WCW stars to come to the show. We've had Arn Anderson in the past. I'd love for him to show up. DDP. It'd be cool if we got a few of those guys to come, even if it was just something backstage or maybe a small appearance on the show.
Yeah, I think that'd be great as well. As I said, I'm a fan of the WCW stuff. I think that it's not overdone on AEW. I think it's just a fun thing that gets sprinkled in. I think if you watch WCW and you watch AEW, you can still tell they're totally different shows.
Right.
So the use of WCW stuff, I think, is fun. I like it. I like Bash at the Beach. I thought it was the best show that WCW did every year, even though Starrcade was supposed to be. I was a Bash at the Beach guy.
Yeah, that was the best one. Yeah, and I'm interested to see what we're going to do. Are we going to have the same set? Are we going to have some palm trees? Like, what's it going to look like? That's what I'm really curious in, because, Bash at the Beach always had a really cool set with the trees, and they would have, they made it look like a beach, and it was a lot of fun. And so I'm really interested to see what it's going to look like visually. And that's part of the fun for me, just showing up to every arena and going out and looking around and saying, okay, this is really cool. Like, I love the way this building looks. I love the feel of it. I thought the last pay-per-view we did, Full Gear, had an amazing set. That reminded me of, the days when you're growing up and you watch a pay-per-view and the set is different. And it's like, oh, this is super cool. Like, I love the way that looks. And so just little nods to the past and bringing things back that we used to enjoy.
You and I park our cars in the same garage regarding that, because I love when they have totally different sets. Another WCW comparison, but like the Halloween Havoc sets and things like that. Absolutely love it. And I loved Full Gear set. I thought that was really cool. I'm excited to see what the set looks like for Revolution, which is coming up on February 29th, the next big pay-per-view for you guys, but it was just announced as far as
Hold up, though.
Dynamite.
Is there a February 29th next year?
That's what the show said. I do my journalistic research to double check.
Is it like,
that's a good question.
Is it leap year or something? I saw the graphic as well, and it said February 29th. And the first thing I thought, I was like, oh, that's a mistake. Who made that? Who messed that up? But now I've heard it a couple of times now. I'm like, okay, is it like a leap year or something? Like February 29th? I don't remember existing, but maybe I'm wrong. Things change, so I don't know.
It would be a great day to have if it is on a leap year, or it sounds like a Chris Jericho out to say I'm going to defend it on February 29th, and that's not for another 3 years.
Right. Right.
So that seems to be the next big pay-per-view. That seems to be the next big thing. What can we expect from you between now and then? What's the next big thing going on for Scorpio Sky?
Well, man, it's a long time in between then and now, and we've got a lot of TV, and obviously we've got a big match next week, and it is not a guarantee that we are going to leave Corpus Christi with these championship belts. And so the goal is obviously to get to Revolution as still champions, leave Revolution still champions, hopefully come back to Los Angeles sometime in the spring or summer and do a show out here as champions. But you just never know what's going to happen. Things change so quickly. And, maybe it ends up at Revolution. Maybe it's me and Jericho again. Maybe I can prove you right, or maybe it's something different. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see when we get there.
It all rests on your shoulders. But you know what? You were very nice about it, but I'm going to say it. I don't like the Young Bucks saying they're the best tag team in the world when you have the championship. I think you and Kaz need to show them who the real best in the world is next week live on Dynamite.
Hey, that sounds good to me. 7 Central, live on TNT. I think what's going to be the main event.
It better
Watch
be.
us do it.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching it. I'm excited for it. Scorpio, can you let all of our wonderful viewers and listeners know where they can find you online?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Scorpio Sky. Very simple. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for covering our show. We appreciate every media outlet that is joining this revolution and helping us out and spreading the word of All Elite Wrestling.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. We're all huge fans of everything you guys are doing. My name's Jack Farmer. You can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. Thank you once again, Scorpio Sky, for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.